Good day, fellow scapers. My name's Deck, but please call me Hobo, and welcome to my thoughts around the Necromancy nerf, and also why I'm likely to be taking a wee bit of a break from higher level PVM for the next couple of weeks. So recently, Jagex have decided to nerf conjures into oblivion. What nerfs, you might be asking? This comes in the form of the Skeleton Warrior having its damage nerfed from 30% ability damage down to 25% outside of the command function, and from 55% down to 44% inside of the command skeleton function. The Putrid Zombie has seen its damage nerfed from 30% down to 10% ability damage, and it only procs every 3 seconds instead of 1.8 seconds. The Ghost, its command function now only lasts 30 seconds, which has been massively downgraded from basically the duration of the Ghost conjure, and its heal value has dropped down from 175% to 125%, and its damage cap has come down from 100% ability damage down to 35% ability damage. So why have Jagex decided to nerf the current setup around conjures? My thoughts? I think that they probably quite liked the current balance for the summons. However, with the addition of the newest conjure, likely coming this November, they would have really wanted to keep the current special that they've got in mind for that conjure. But it would likely have made the rest of the conjures to be what they consider as overpowered when used in conjunction with the new conjure. Also, it already outdoes every other combat style in terms of viability, but as a standalone combat style, it is very well balanced already in of itself. So how are Jagex looking to fix this? Well, they came through today or yesterday with a statement around how they're going to be reversing some of the nerfs for all three of these conjures. I say all three, I mean two of the three. The Skeleton Warrior currently has no fix. There are no plans to reverse the nerf from 55 to 44 and 30 to 25, which is okay. That's a very small damage nerf in of itself. The Putrid Zombie is having its 3-second attack proc down to 1.8 seconds. However, damage is still being nerfed. The Ghost is being rebuffed, which means it's going from 125% heal value up to 140. That being said, this is still 35% lower than before. They are also increasing the duration of the conjure up to 42 seconds in line with the rest of the conjures, and its command function will again, as of next week, go back in line with what it was before, meaning that it will be for the entirety of the summons duration. So firstly, a couple of things that I think that they've done quite well with. Firstly, they've listened to feedback and they've come through with some fixes quite readily and quite quickly, which I have to give them kudos for. They've balanced the conjure duration as well, which is what every scaper who does necromancy has been talking about since the combat style has come out. And all conjures now have a standard duration of 42 seconds, with live transfer giving you almost a full minute. They've also released the Command Undead Army ability, which, I'll be honest, it's an amazing quality of life update. They've also buffed AFK gameplay by doing this, which means you can summon everything at the same time and have the ability on the bar to start. This is actually both a good and a bad thing. You want players to be engaging with the game, and elitists may not like it, but lowering the skill ceiling for old content is something that really helps bring the newer players to the game and into PVMing in general, which should be natural with power creep. As an example, Animate Dead used to make Hellweird completely AFK, which was probably one of the best things about Animate Dead. God Wars Dungeon 2, and this may be an unpopular opinion, it should not be relevant anymore, period. It should be something that is useful for different perks, from its weapons, such as corroming from Grig's glaives. But aside from that, God Wars Dungeon 2, it shouldn't even be a talking point anymore. Animate Dead, I think, was a perfect example of power creep, and I think that power creep is perfectly okay as long as it's done in the right way. Now, how would I fix Necromancy? Now that all conjures have exactly the same time, I would eliminate the 42-second duration. I would instead multiply the cost of ectoplasm by at least 10 and allow you to cast Undead Army to last 12 minutes in line with darkness. Now, this is a combat style based entirely around conjures. You're a necromancer. You're supposed to be raising the dead. To me, it just doesn't make sense that in high level PVM, we have to choose between embodying the combat style or choosing what is effectively a necromantic mage build. I would increase the ectoplasm cost by 10 times, potentially even more, but also make the duration of the conjures last a sensible period of time. These guys, in line with the law for RuneScape, join us voluntarily. They don't mind being raised by the dead. I'm pretty sure if I was to ask them to, they'd probably want to stick around longer than 1 minute to help out. Now, the next thing I would do is alter how the life transferability actually works. I would move it away from increasing duration of conjures to increasing the power output for conjures for a full minute, maybe even 2 minutes, and you could obviously change this into a regular necromancy ability. That's basically similar to an ultimate. Also, I'd get rid of the HP siphon and instead use it as an adrenaline siphon instead, which means, and I don't know for anyone who's actually experienced this, but the amount of times that I've been going up against, or towards the beginning, when I was going up against Raziel, and it was taking me about 1.5 minutes to kill him, it was quite frustrating to have 50% of my HP nerfed, and then instantly getting smacked with another 2k hit, almost taking me out completely. Sometimes it did send me to Death's Office, which, for anyone who's seen some of my more recent shenanigans, it seems to be a place that I love spending a lot of time. But aside from that, like I said at the beginning, I have been doing some testing on the existing setup. So this is before next week when they plan to reverse some of the changes. And Raziel used to take me between 1 minute to 1 minute and 10, which it's not a fantastic achievement, but it's not terrible. And it's now taken me from 1 minute 20 to 1 minute 30 inconsistently. Now, don't get me wrong, I haven't kept the existing rotation. You have to try and change things up when there's changes to damage values, etc. I have done a little bit on pre-building. So, for example, with necrosis stacks, I've, gotten some of the souls. I've been using weapon specs on both the tier 90 and the tier 95 at the start of the fight, but the damage is just nowhere near what it used to be. Now, this isn't too much of an issue when the ghost is there to help you with the heals, but it's not. And Raziel is a boss that hurts you real bad. No surprise, he's the first bloody necromancer. That being said though, Jagex originally said he was somewhere a little bit above God Wars Dungeon 2 difficulty, and this is absolutely no longer the case, like at all. You chew through food like you're starving, your Blood Reaver is pretty much on death's door constantly, and your ghost is just sitting pretty. It's just useless. Now, if Jagex do not revert the damage, I would instead potentially choose to do something like the following. So, all damage done by the conjurer of a ghost, remove it entirely and turn him only into a support conjurer. So he only heals you and he buffs everything else that does damage to your target. So for example, it would massively buff up the zombie, it would massively buff up the skeleton and yourself, and any damage that it does instead is converted into like a heal for you. That way, the ghost isn't overpowered, and Jagex don't have to nerf the skeleton into oblivion. I would rebuff the zombie and skeleton to their original values, having the ghost not do quite as much damage, I would say, is probably a fair trade-off for it having a 12-minute duration and lasting the same period as the rest of the summons, as long as its functionality is as a buff and a healer, and basically it's not developed on further. Now, another thing that I would probably change about Necromancy to give it that little bit of extra fix and quality of life is the freaking 90-second cooldown on Living Death. It's so annoying that for an ultimate, where for every other, combat style, it's 60 seconds. It's a 60-second cooldown. Come on, Jagex, sort that out. Just move it to a 60-second. It will help for things like Kerapack. It would make it more consistent. In short, give me back my conjures. They're not OP. It's just the existing combat triangle that is an ancient relic. Regardless of the weapon specs you've added on, it's time to bring the other styles up to par. Now, I'd be really keen to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think Jagex could do to make the combat style balance whilst making it make more sense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because my thoughts on the matter have now been expressed. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoy this type of content, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me on Twitch and my other socials, and just maybe I'll catch you in the next episode. Take care, till the next time.